So, have you seen this tool? It makes the crazy twisted table runners. But wait, there's more. The same tool, but no twisting and no braiding. It's our bonus blossom. So let's get started. For the blossom that I'm going to make today, I've cut 6 of the pink squares and 12 of the cream rectangles. Now we're ready to cut these into circles. I have my square of pink. I fold it in half. The half goes to the bottom. I put my braided twist tool, place that 1/4 inch line onto the fold, not the edge of the tool, the 1/4 inch line, and I cut around it. You see those scraps? I have a video for that. And here's my circle. I'll cut 6 of these. Next, get out the paper template that comes with your braided twist packet. You can trace this triangle onto freezer paper or use an equilateral 60-degree triangle ruler. When you place this ruler on top of the paper, the line isn't the same as the number in the book. The paper template will give you a smaller center opening. Now the size can be varied. There's a table you can download called Bonus Blossom Helps on our website's FAQ page. The smaller the number on the triangle, it's closer to the point, and it gives a smaller center opening and a smaller final size for the blossom. So the opposite is also true. The larger the number, the larger the opening, and the larger the finished size. Next, I want to take my blossom circle and I want it to be right side up. I don't want to trace on the wrong side. I want to trace on the right side. I'm going to make it like the book, and I'm going to go to 1.5 inches. I'm going to have a little bit larger opening in the center. My center fold is lined up with the center line of the tool, and I'm going to draw a line along the edge of my ruler. And yes, the freezer paper does work. Just take your time. Now I've got these lines here. Now trace the rest of your circle pieces again with the exact same alignment. Next, we're going to work on our rectangles. Side up and one right side down. And this time I'm going to line them up right along the edge and cut 2 at once. Like this. Now, when we cut the rectangles, rather than the 1/4 inch line, this time we want to make sure we use the edge of the tool. The edge of the tool factors in that 1/4 of an inch seam. So everything's figured out for you. And you're going to cut around here. You see those scraps? I have a video for that. Our right sides are together. I'm going to rotate this around. Take my ruler and I'm going to measure 3.5 inches and mark, and 3.5 inches and mark on this end. And I'm going to sew from here to here, stop and back stitch. From here to here, stop and back stitch. Here you have it. You can see I've sewn here and I've sewn here. The next thing I do is I'm going to clip it. In earlier videos I've shown you how to mark your scissors so that you clip only 1/4 of an inch. You're going to clip in both places. And now we're going to open this up. I'm going to just finger press it. Okay, now I've got one of these cards. It's a 5x7 larger index card, and I'm going to put it right next to the seam. So I want to fold this back and press. Once it's pressed with the card, you can see how nice and even the edge is. Turn this over. Now see how that the clip seam allowances let you easily tuck the raw edge. This is our backing, face up, and this is our flower fabric, and we're going to put it face down. Now, with a batik like this, it's hard to tell, but you know that the right side is the one you've got the mark on. We'll line the center fold to the seam and pin, and the fold to the center seam. I'm just moving that one pin out of my way. I have sewn over those. And now we'll pin in a few other spots to hold these circles together, because sometimes they'll shift when you're sewing them. Now I'm going to go and sew 1/4 of an inch all the way around. Now we've sewn our circle all the way around, and you can see, and we're ready to add our fleece. I have a square of fleece. The first thing we'll do is fold this fleece in half, fold is at the top. And we're going to take our braided twist tool, and here is our fleece line, and we're going to cut just this corner over here. So line that up exactly and cut. And you're cutting from the center here. And now just pick this up and turn it over and repeat it. Again, here, the line is here, and we'll cut. And now we have a circle of fleece. We're going to have the front side of our circle, the petal, facing up. Find the fusible side of your fleece, put it face down, and make sure that you can still see your stitching. And I can, just like that. And now I'm going to go fuse that. Okay, I've fused the fleece on, and now I'm ready to turn it inside out. Now, that little opening we created earlier is so handy because all the edges of your circle will be nice and smooth once we get it turned inside out. I will also press this edge, making sure that everything is opened up. What I'm looking for is a nice, smooth, curved edge. When I get that nice, smooth, curved edge, and I've pressed it, I've cut a strip of paper-backed fusible tape slightly shorter than the opening. Slip it under the folded edge and fuse it in place. Then peel away the paper and fuse again to seal the opening. Okay, I'm back from the iron, and I want to show you, see how nice and smooth it looks? When I got to this point, I realized my choice of solid fabric for the leaves was just too plain. My fix was the fern stitching and coloring. Now, rather than getting sidetracked with this detail, I've put that part at the very end of the video. Now we're ready to sew a pair together. We've got two with the backing sides together, and we need to pin these. We want to make sure the center seam of each line up exactly. Going to pin that, and then we're going to pin the bottom just to keep it from shifting right at the center. Now we're going to come here. I'll stick a pin straight through the marked line and make sure that it lines up with the line on the other side. So we're going to pin this kind of fussy like. Now I'm going to sew that one side, and I'll back stitch and back stitch. Okay, I've got 3 pairs sewn, and now I'm ready to sew the pairs together. I'm going to put 2 of them together, line them up at the center seam and pin, and at the center seam here and pin. Make sure that this marked line lines up to this marked line, and the edges need to be right together. So I'll sew this together, and I'll open it up, and I'll sew these 2 together and these 2 together. Now here it is with all 6 circles sewn together. It's a surprisingly fast project. Even with the stitching and the coloring, it was still a fast project. I could go in and fuse these edges like I do with a braided twist runners. I could edge stitch them, or what I may do on this project, I may come in here and echo the little fern, and then that stitching right there would be enough to hold it down, and we could let the edges be kind of 3-dimensional. You can find the Braided Twist book that includes the bonus blossom, as well as the notions I showed on this video at our website, phillipsfiberart.com. And we hope to see you there. Thank you and God bless. My choice of solid fabric for the leaves was just too plain. My fix was the fern stitching and coloring. So I have a fix for that. To do this, the first thing I want to do, place my ruler back on here, lining it up with those pencil lines I put on there. And I do that so I know exactly where it came out once I turned it inside out. Flip that over, line it up with the center seam, go to the marking on the tool, trace those, and ideally that line is exactly the same line as on the other side, or close. Next, I drew some fern-like lines. You can see my paper here. To transfer these lines, after the circle was made, I made a freezer paper stencil. I traced all the lines, including the outside. I'll use those for placement. I cut away the fern portion using an 18mm rotary cutter. Then I ironed the piece to the circle. That kept it in place while I drew the lines. These stencils were used for all 6 tracings, so that's why they look a little battered, but they worked. Next, I free motion stitched the lines, then filled in that shape using a fabric colored pencil. Okay, from this point, you've got the rest of the instructions in the earlier portion of the video. I'd like to show you a close-up of the fern lines, and now let me show you the finished blossom. Thank you for watching.